Little Kabibara caught a cold. Chapter 1, The Cold Strikes. Kiki, the capybara, woke up one morning with a scratchy throat and a stuffy nose. She tried to ignore it and go about her day as usual, but her friends could tell she was not feeling well. "Kiki, are you okay?" asked her best friend, a chatty monkey named Max. "You sound terrible." "I'm fine," replied Kiki, trying to convince herself more than anyone else. "Just a little under the weather." But as the day went on, Kiki's condition worsened. She started to cough and sneeze, and her eyes grew watery. By the time she crawled into her cozy burrow that night, she was feeling miserable. She spent the night tossing and turning, unable to get comfortable. In the morning, she woke up feeling even worse. She had a fever and her head was pounding. She knew she needed to do something to feel better, but the thought of taking medicine made her cringe. Chapter 2, Refusing Medicine. Kiki knew that her friends were worried about her, but she was determined to tough it out and refused any offers of medicine. She hated the thought of taking pills or cough syrup, and the idea of anything being forced down her throat made her feel queasy. Max brought her a cup of hot tea with honey, which was meant to soothe her throat, but Kiki wrinkled her nose at the sight of it. "No thanks, Max," she said, pushing the cup away. "I don't want to drink anything right now." Daisy, a kind-hearted deer, offered to go pick some herbs from the forest to make a natural remedy, but Kiki was not interested. "I don't need any of that," she said stubbornly. "I'll get better on my own." As the days went on, Kiki's condition did not improve. She was feeling weaker and more exhausted by the day, but still refused to take any medicine. Her friends tried to convince her, but Kiki remained firm in her decision. "I don't want to take any medicine," she said firmly. "I'll feel better soon enough." But as her cough grew worse and her throat became more painful, Kiki began to regret her decision. She started to worry that she might never feel better if she continued to refuse any help. Despite her stubbornness, Kiki knew that she needed to do something to ease her discomfort. But the thought of taking medicine still made her shudder. Would she ever change her mind? Chapter 3, A Lesson in Rest. Days passed, and Kiki's condition did not improve. She was feeling weaker and more exhausted by the day, and her friends were growing increasingly worried about her. One day, Max came to visit her and found her lying in bed with a pile of tissues beside her. "Kiki, you can't keep going like this," he said gently. "You need to rest and let your body heal." Kiki grumbled but knew he was right. She spent the next few days in bed, dozing and sniffling. Her friends came to visit her, bringing her books to read and soup to eat. Kiki realized that sometimes, the best medicine was simply taking care of oneself. She spent her days curled up in her burrow, wrapped in blankets and surrounded by tissues. Her friends brought her hot tea and chicken soup, which she gratefully sipped. She tried to sleep as much as possible, but the coughing kept waking her up. One day, Daisy brought her a small bouquet of flowers. "I thought these might cheer you up," she said with a smile. Kiki sniffed them and smiled weakly. They did make her feel a little better. As the days passed, Kiki began to feel a little stronger. She still had a cough and a stuffy nose, but the fever had subsided, and her throat was less sore. She realized that sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to rest and let your body heal. Chapter 4, A Misadventure in Home Remedies. Despite the rest and care that Kiki was receiving, she was still feeling frustrated with her cold. She longed to feel better and get back to her usual activities. So, she decided to take matters into her own hands and try some home remedies. She remembered reading about the benefits of garlic for colds, so she went to the kitchen and grabbed a clove. She peeled it and chewed on it, feeling quite proud of herself for being so proactive. But after a few moments, she realized that the garlic taste was much too strong for her liking, and her mouth was burning. Panicked, she ran to her friend Max for help. "What did you do, Kiki?" he asked, his eyes wide with concern. "I tried to eat garlic, but it's too spicy," Kiki exclaimed. Max couldn't help but chuckle a little. "Garlic is pretty potent," he said. "But it's good for you. Why don't we try putting some in soup instead?" Kiki felt a little silly for her mistake but agreed to give it a try. They made a pot of chicken soup and added some chopped garlic to it. Kiki cautiously tasted it and was pleasantly surprised. The garlic taste was much more subtle, and the soup warmed her from the inside out. Feeling emboldened, Kiki decided to try another home remedy. She had heard that ginger tea was good for colds, so she boiled some water and grated some ginger root into it. She sipped the tea, feeling proud of herself for being so resourceful. But after a few sips, she realized that the tea was much too spicy for her liking, and her mouth was burning once again. This time, she went to Daisy for help, who offered to make her a more palatable ginger tea with honey and lemon. Kiki learned that home remedies can be helpful, but it's important to do research and follow instructions carefully. Chapter 5, An Unlikely Hero. Kiki's cold was beginning to improve, but she still had a lingering cough that kept her up at night. She tried everything she could think of to soothe it: hot tea, honey, even singing, but nothing seemed to work. One night, as she lay in bed, she heard a faint scratching sound outside her burrow. At first, she thought it was just the wind, but the noise persisted. Curious, she got out of bed and peeked outside. To her surprise, she saw a small mouse sitting outside, holding a tiny guitar. The mouse looked up at her and smiled. "Hi there," he said. "I heard you coughing and thought I might be able to help." Kiki was skeptical but willing to try anything. The mouse began to play his guitar and sing a sweet, gentle melody. Kiki felt her cough quieting down, and she breathed a sigh of relief. "That's amazing," she said, smiling at the mouse. "Thank you so much." The mouse shrugged. "I just like to help where I can," he said. "Music has a way of healing, you know." Kiki nodded, feeling grateful for the unexpected kindness. She asked the mouse if he could come back again tomorrow night, and he happily agreed. Over the next few nights, the mouse continued to serenade Kiki, and her cough slowly faded away. She felt better than she had in weeks, and she knew it was all thanks to the little mouse and his guitar. As she lay in bed, listening to the music, she realized that sometimes, help can come from the most unlikely places. She felt lucky to have such wonderful friends and a community that cared for her, and she knew that she would always be there for them, just as they had been there for her. Kiki thinks that if she gets sick again she'd rather take the medicine. It would have made her recover faster. The end.